showed me about the new year 5785. And as you know, the Lord has spoken to me extensively about the number 85 already, but today we're going to be looking at the entire year that is ahead of us. And the Lord gave me two pictures for 5785, and the new year started a few days ago, so happy new year to everybody. And when we look back on 5784, the Lord has spoken to us about gates, and one of the things he said about gates is that it would be the year of gates, and we spoke about Project Stargate. There was an incident with Gateway Church, and we know that the Lord always starts with the church first before he can move on to transforming the world. And so 5784 is behind us. Let us focus on 5785. The Lord was telling me that this particular year is going to be a year of sunsets. I was taking my evening walk as I do every day, and the sun was setting on a particular day a few months ago, and the Lord began to speak to me about how 5785 is going to be a year of sunsets. And as I watched the sun going down, the Lord reminded me of every time I had an opportunity to enjoy the sunset. And every time I enjoy the sunset, I'm at a place of complete rest and reflection. And only yesterday, the Lord spoke to me 3 weeks ago about sunsets, and only yesterday he reminded me of something that I didn't know was an actual phrase. I'd never heard the word sunset years. I'm familiar with the phrase golden years, but I've never heard the phrase sunset years. And so that the Lord showed me yesterday for the first time. Now you must know that when he spoke to me about 5785, that it's going to be a year of sunsets, this is a few months ago. I've only just released, been given the permission to release the word today, because yesterday he spoke to me about sunset years. I was watching a video and somebody mentioned the phrase sunset years, and I'd never heard that term before, so I went online and I googled what does sunset years refer to, and it refers to the later stage of a person's life, often after retirement. So the Lord was saying to me that he's going to be retiring. He's Joseph's. But what does that mean? If somebody is retired, you can retire in your 20s if you're rich enough. You can retire in your 30s if you're rich enough. You can retire in your 40s if you're rich enough. But most people only get to retire after they've spent a lifetime of labouring. Most people only get to retire in their 60s, sometimes only their 70s, that they get to retire. Some people are not in a fortunate position to retire even though they've spent their life labouring. So some people are 70 or 80, but still they cannot afford to retire. So retirement is a luxury, and in the secular sense it's often reserved for people at the end of their journey. And it's a poetic way of describing a period where individuals reflect on their experiences, they slow down, and they enjoy the fruits of their labour. Just as the sun sets marks the end of the day with a sense of closure and peace, the sunset years symbolize winding down of life, often with a focus on rest, fulfillment, and tranquility. So the Lord was giving me a picture of when he first spoke to me, he spoke to me about the sun, and he also gave me a picture of a rocking chair. And that's really a picture of rest. He's bringing us into a place of rest. And it's wonderful to step back and just listen to the heartbeat of God. Take a moment away from social media. Take a moment away from the busyness of life and just listen to God. And when we still ourselves, He's able to speak even more clearly than when we busy ourselves with the tasks of life. And so I've already started my sunset years a few months ago, because God has been telling me to slow down and to stop with the usual activities of creating and producing, because He's bringing us to a place of complete fulfillment and a place of complete rest. And sunsets are really, in essence, God's everyday miracle, because He is showing us that all endings can be beautiful. A sunset is a very beautiful thing. And God is affording us this year the miracle of enjoying the beautiful sunsets. In Luke 4 verse 40, it speaks about how when the sun was setting, all those who were sick with various diseases were brought to Him, and He laid hands on every one of them, and He healed them. So it's the end of the day, but it's also the fulfillment of everything that God has set aside for those who have waited patiently and laboured throughout the day. If you watch my ministry, you know that God has spoken extensively about the sun, and He has spoken to me extensively about Japan. He told me that Japan would stand still as an extended metaphor for the sun standing still. And now the Lord is talking to me about how the sun is going to set and how we are going to enjoy that sunset. And of course, again, this is linked to Japan. Japan is known as a place where the sun rises. But God was saying, no, the sun is going to set, and we will enjoy the sunset just as those who are said to enjoy their sunset years, where they are in a state of retirement, a state of resting. It shows a sunset symbolizes completion and a finalization, the end of a cycle and the beginning of something new. It's a transition. Sunsets show us that we are transitioning from one stage to another stage, from the one day to another day. You know what's curious to me is that, biblically speaking, sunsets are the beginning of a day, whereas in the world, sunrises symbolize the beginning of a day. But God's way is different to the world's way. And God's way says that when the sun is setting, he's doing a new thing. It is a new day. If you look at a Jewish day, Shabbat, or the Sabbath, starts on a Friday at sunset and goes into Saturday. So the day starts really when the sun sets the previous day. This is not how we understand it in the world. In the world, we look at the sun rising. In Japan, they have called themselves the rising sun. But God is saying no, the sun will set. Japan will be known as a place where the sun has set, rather than the place that the sun rises. And it is a place for his Josephs to start fresh, inspiring us to let go of the past, the previous day, the previous burdens, the previous impositions, and the previous things that have made us or caused us setbacks. God is saying that as the sun sets, there will be no more setbacks. He's giving us a fresh start. He's going to provide us with a moment to look back on our lives and our journeys and reflect and contemplate everything we've been through that enables us to stand where we're standing now, but that we'd be reclining in a rocking chair, enjoying a sundowner as the sun sets. And what about Japan, Nippon, the place that is named after the sun? Well, the Lord told me that the sun is going to set. And this is the opposite of the pride that they have in Japan, where the sun rises. The Lord spoke to me and said there'll be no horse in the race after 85. We are in the year 5785. And that is with regards to XRP. So I'm going to leave you with a clip of the sun setting, and I look forward to reflecting on every single video that has been shared on this channel in terms of fulfillment as I watch the sun set for the rest of my life. I wanted to thank everybody for every email, for every prayer, and for everything that you have given to this ministry. I've enjoyed this journey so much. Thank you for being a part of it. Know that God is giving you an opportunity of a lifetime to watch the sun set, to be in a state of retirement when the world is getting ready to work harder. You will be in a position to enjoy the sunsets. Thank you very much for watching. Shabbat Shalom.